Some stories, they don't really start at the beginning. They start somewhere in the middle with a single anonymous letter. And this is one of those stories. A letter that would unravel a secret that had been hidden away for a quarter of a century. A secret locked up in a dusty, dark attic inside what everyone believed was a perfectly respectable home.
So imagine this. It's May 23, 1901, and this absolutely chilling note lands on the desk of the Paris Attorney General. A spinster locked up, half-starved, living on a putrid litter for 25 years. It pointed directly to the home of the Monniers, a well-regarded, even beloved aristocratic family. It hinted at something so unbelievably evil right there in plain sight. This one letter was about to set off a chain of events that would completely shock France, and honestly, the entire world.
Now, the Monniers were known for their social standing, for their charity. These were the last people anyone would suspect of anything. But, armed with this deeply disturbing letter, the police showed up at their very well-appointed home, really with no idea of the absolute horror they were about to uncover. So the police begin their search, and what's so striking is just how normal everything seemed at first. The ground floor, immaculate. The second floor, just the same. But then, they found it. A single door right at the top of the house, fastened shut with a heavy chain and a big, rusty padlock. The family pushed back. They resisted, but the police insisted. They had to see what was on the other side of that door. As the officers finally broke the door down, a wall of the most putrid air imaginable just hit them. The room was pitch black. Its windows had been boarded up for years. They ripped away the coverings, and for the first time in 25 years, sunlight flooded the room. And there, on a bed of rotting straw and just filth, lay a skeletal figure. It was the woman from the letter, 52-year-old Blanche Monnier. She was shockingly emaciated. She weighed barely 25 kilograms. That's about 55 pounds. Think about that. She hadn't seen another human being besides her own captors, or felt the sun on her skin in a quarter of a century. The physical toll of what she'd been through was just almost incomprehensible. In this quote from the official police report, it really gives you a sense of the horror they walked into. They described a crust of excrement and rotten food all around her, with bugs crawling everywhere. The stench was so overwhelming that they couldn't even stay in the room long enough to conduct their full investigation. Just unbelievable. Okay, so the discovery itself was just the beginning of this story. The real questions were, who was Blanche Monnier before she was locked away? And how could a family possibly do this, commit such an incredible act of cruelty against their own daughter right under the noses of all their friends and neighbors? To really understand what happened here, we have to go back, 25 years back, because the woman they found in that attic was once a vibrant, celebrated member of her community with a future that looked incredibly bright. Just look at this stark contrast. It's heartbreaking. In 1876, Blanche Monnier was 27 years old, a beautiful and popular socialite, surrounded by suitors. Fast forward to 1901, and she's an emaciated captive, literally hidden from the entire world. So what on earth could have caused such a horrific transformation? Well, the answer, as shocking as it is, lies in a story of forbidden love. And it all boils down to a mother's absolute, cruel refusal to let her daughter choose her own path in life. At 27, Blanche fell in love with a man her mother thought was completely unsuitable, an older lawyer with no money. When Blanche refused to end the relationship, her mother locked her in the attic, vowing she wouldn't be released until she gave in. The family then just pretended she had vanished. They mourned her disappearance. And here's the most tragic part. Her suitor, the man she loved, died unexpectedly in 1885. But her captivity didn't end. It just continued in the darkness. This timeline really drives home the sheer length of this whole ordeal. Her imprisonment starts in 1876. 9 years later, the man she loved is gone, but her punishment just keeps going. It takes another 16 years after that for the anonymous letter to finally bring her rescue. 25 years, a whole lifetime just gone. So, after Blanche's rescue, as you can imagine, public outrage demanded justice. But the legal outcome of this whole case would end up being nearly as shocking as the crime itself. So here's the breakdown of what happened to everyone. Louise Monnier, the mother and the main captor, she was arrested but died of an illness just 15 days later, supposedly after seeing an angry mob gathering outside her home. Her brother, Marcel, who lived right next door and knew everything, he was also arrested. And Blanche, well, she was rescued, but her ordeal was far, far from over.
Now here's the most shocking part of the legal proceedings, this incredible loophole that allowed Marcel to walk free. He was actually convicted at first, but then he won on appeal. Why? Because at the time, French law had no duty to rescue clause. So while the judges completely condemned his actions, they found he hadn't technically broken a law by simply failing to help his sister. This case exposed this massive gap in the law, one that basically assumed you didn't need to legislate basic human decency.
As for Blanche, she was finally free from her prison, but she would never be free from its effects. She suffered from severe mental health issues for the rest of her life. She was admitted to a psychiatric hospital, and that's where she lived until her death in 1913. After 25 years of darkness, she spent her final 12 years in care, never fully recovering from the trauma.
The case of Blanche Monnier wasn't just some shocking headline that people forgot about. It left a permanent scar on the public consciousness. It serves as this terrifying reminder of the kind of horrors that can unfold behind closed doors. In France, her story is famously known as La Séquestrée de Poitiers, which means the confined woman of Poitiers. It became a kind of byword for extreme domestic cruelty. It even inspired books, including one by the very famous author André Gide, cementing her tragic story deep into French cultural history. And as horrifying as Blanche's story is, it is sadly not unique. History is just dotted with other cases of long-term imprisonment and neglect within families. You have cases like Jeannie Wiley in the United States, or much more recently, Lacey Fletcher. These stories show that these kinds of hidden tragedies continue to occur, even today. And all of this brings us to a final, really haunting question. Remember, the Monniers were respected people. They had friends, staff, people coming and going from their home all the time. For 25 years, a woman was being tortured in their home, and apparently nobody knew? It really makes you wonder, what is it that allows such profound evil to remain hidden, right there in plain sight, in the heart of a community?